Hello and welcome to the Corgi Town USA podcast. I'm Candy Kemp, owner of Corgi Town USA. In my lap is Chuckles, and we actually have our executive producer remote in today. Kat, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I am Catherine Napoli with Corgi Town USA. And on the floor, making a little bit of noise, would in fact be Digby D.
Digby D, Digby Dizzle, and then Boog and I have Boog and Mortimer. I don't know where Hammer is. He's off doing his own thing.
Hammer is like somewhere in a corner going, "Get away from me, people! Just get away from me."
He's Mr. Cool, you know.
He is Mr. Cool.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to talk about agility today because Eric is going to be joining us and talking about educating us about agility. And we've done a little bit of agility talking here on the podcast, but we haven't really gone into it. So I feel like this will be a good opportunity to educate everyone, educate me too. I think I'll learn today.
I think so. I think it's fascinating. So let's bring him on.
Okay, let's bring him on. Eric, welcome. How you doing today?
Oh, there we go. He has this habit of turning the mute on. Go ahead.
That wasn't me, just for the record.
Well, thanks for joining us today and educating us about agility because from what we understand, you've done quite a few. So can you let our audience know here what your background is with agility and how you got started?
I played agility for close to 20 years. I trained, I competed, I judged, and I started by trying to make my dog tired.
That's how you got started.
That's how I got started. I adopted an Australian cattle dog from the pound, and he was very, very full of energy. And actually, there was a dog day demo, and went to that and saw agility and thought, oh, that looks really cool. That looks really fun. And hopefully that will make him tired. Because I just couldn't throw the ball often enough or long enough to actually make the dog tired.
I always thought that's what cocktails were for. All right, never mind.
And I love that you brought that up because I mean that's the breed you mentioned. Yeah, that's a high energy breed. That's a working breed. And corgis are like that too. They're very high energy and they kind of vary from dog to dog, like all breeds. But the corgis are a working breed and they're very high energy as well. And I know Chuckles is like that. He's ball obsessed. And we know Digby's very high energy as well. And so I love that was your motivation to just kind of wear them out. But from what I understand with agility, yes, it's very physically taxing, but we've actually had a trainer on before, Alyssa, who has done dog sports. And she was explaining to us that it's not only physical stimulation, but it's also mental stimulation because your dog needs both, right?
Oh, completely. A class, when you go to class, you have 5 or 6 short intervals of training and practicing, and the dog is thinking hard the entire time. And oh my goodness, even the Jack Russell Terriers are curled up asleep on the back seat on the way home from agility class.
Yeah, and that's good for the physical health, but the mental health of your dog too, because you're giving them something to crack open and analyze, and that focus kind of it's good for them, right?
Yes, it is completely exhausting for the dog, and the synergy when you're actually communicating with another species about what's next. It requires a lot of thought, well, on the human and the canine part, and it can be wonderfully exhausting for doggies.
Yeah, wonderfully exhausting.
Yeah, is it wonderfully exhausting for humans too?
Potentially.
Well, so as we're talking about this, I wanted to ask what you think. So obviously you wanted to start to give your dog some get your dog tired physically, mentally. And would you say, I'm sure not every dog is a good candidate for agility. So would you say, how would you know if your dog's good for agility? And I know that we have to kind of consider when we answer this question, obviously the health and structure of the breed. So we talk about corgis having long backs and short legs. And so we have to be careful how we do that. We actually talked to somebody who does disc dog, and kind of, he has a corgi, and kind of we were talking about that. But again, I'm making a long road to a simple thought, Candy. But what would you say? Not every dog is good for agility, right? Like, what were the considerations? Like, how would you know if your dog's good for agility?
Um, uh, Over a certain size, all dogs can do agility. The question is, how good they're going to be at it, and how important that is to you. Um, that you know, and the limiting factor is an unusual one. There's a teeter totter as one of the obstacles, and there's a specification of how long it will take the teeter to tip when the dog goes and stands on the end. And some Chihuahua type dogs are not heavy enough to tip the teeter. Um, Corgis have plenty of mass. They do not have a problem tipping the teeter. And again, it's, if your dog is healthy and sound, there is, they can do it. It's how, the question comes how competitive they can be at it, how well they can do it, but they can do it.
So, is there also a consideration for the for mama and for papa as to whether or not they can do agility? What's involved for the for the parent uh, that's doing the agility with them?
Um, there's a continuum. The more agile and mobile the human is, the uh, the less training the dog needs. So, if you work with the dog to train them to work independent of your position, then the human doesn't need to be as fast or as agile. I have seen competitors on motorized wheelchairs,
Hmm.
competitors on oh, the little thing you stand on and push back and forth that balances. What's it?
Scooter,
It's a kind of scooter, the two-wheeled balancing one. What's the
Like a
brand?
skateboard. Okay.
moped.
The one that takes thousands of dollars, and you see tours around town.
Oh,
Oh,
moped.
similar
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah,
And one of
so
us will think of the name of it.
so
Well, that's
a friend of mine ended up with ALS, and he competed on one of those motorized thingies.
Wow.
It took a lot more training for his dog, because his dog, he could not get to where he needed to be to give the best cues, visual cues. So he had to give verbal cues. But so it's a continuum. The faster you run, the less you train your dog differently.
Yeah, I like that ingenuity though. Like, if you're handicapped, well, how can we do this? Let's get a machine that's going to carry me over there. I feel like that would scare Chucky though, because Chucky doesn't like things above his head. So if you bring anything or even a piece of paper, like he's not afraid of the piece of paper, but you hold it over his head and he doesn't like that. So I think certain dogs might be afraid of something like
Well,
that.
they they might start that way, but by the time you've been trained long enough to enter a competition, they should be over that.
Yeah, desensitization training, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how would you do you need a formal training? So I want to bounce back for just a moment. You had mentioned teeter. Can you explain to us exactly what that is in agility?
Uh, well, it's a teeter totter, just like you grew up with, or a seesaw, and the dog runs up and waits or makes the teeter tip and then runs off.
Okay. So now we understand what a teeter is. No, I understand what a teeter is, and that makes sense. But I wasn't sure if the picture in my mind was exactly what I was thinking, because I think of agility and I think little sticks and running running in and out, which I know is part of it. So when you do this, let's say if I have a dog and I want to start with agility training, do you have to have a trainer, or can you, is this, how formal or informal is this? Do you recommend a high-end professional, or can you just do this as a novice?
It's possible to do it. Just like anything, the better your instructor is, the faster you will learn. And the instructor's job is to teach the human, and then as the human, your job is to teach the dog. And so the extra set of eyes, the extra set of ears, someone to say, hey, you're cueing late, you're cueing early, your cue is not clear, can really help you learn quickly.
So you
What's a
do.
cue? I was gonna say, what's a cue?
uh, that's up to you. um,
No, but when you say you're queuing, what do you mean by you're queuing? What are you doing when you're queuing?
She wants definition for clarity.
Yeah.
well, just like any training or trick training, you need to give a cue to the dog to perform the behavior.
Yeah.
uh,
So that makes sense to me, because I mean, in cues, I used to work in the audiovisual world. Your cues are going to be different in the AV world than it is in agility. So I love that you asked that question, Kat.
and just a little bit of background. Agility has several obstacles, and each time you compete, the obstacles are in a different order. So so the human has a chance to learn the course without the dog, and then has to explain to the dog what the next correct obstacle is. Um, as as the course becomes more advanced, it becomes less obvious to the dog what the next obstacle is. So the human needs to give some sort of indication to dog that they need to turn left, turn right, go forward, and that they're doing a jump, or they're doing a teeter, or any of the other obstacles. So, you know, part of the training is to teach them each of the individual obstacles separately, and then to teach them how to sequence them, and so that you can give clues during the course to tell them and direct them to the next correct obstacle.
Candy, could you see me doing that with Digby or really any dog, trying to give correct cues? They would involve a lot of cursing, I think, from me. Uh, Probably, yeah, an awful lot of swearing, both in Italian and English, and stomping around and throwing things. Maybe it's
Well,
a sport for Digby and I. Maybe I need something different. Let's try that frisbee thing.
I don't know. I think two schools of thought on that. One, yes, hilarious. Let's do it. Let's get it on camera so that we can entertain our audience. But the other school of thought is, and I can relate. I am very similar in that we are both neurodivergent. So that kind of that ADD, that attention deficit, that I think activities like this. I mean, if you think about dogs, and corgis especially, because that's the breed I know best, they are themselves ADD by nature, right?
They
They're
are.
and we're bringing an author on here soon who she was talking about how she did her research about the corgi in her novel, and how she was reading about how dogs are they can be focused on something, but if they catch a sniff of something or they hear something, they're always in the moment. So they're automatically on to that next thing. So dogs are kind of ADD in nature, if you think
Right.
of it in those terms. And I think that something like agility for a high energy dog, and Digby definitely fits into this category, high energy dog that's highly distractible, that you're dealing with these activities that take a lot of focus. They take a lot of drive, as we know. They take a lot of physical energy, but they take a lot of focus, and it's kind of like
Yeah.
forced focus. And so I don't know, Kat, you might be surprised if you and Digby were to do that. Maybe at first, but it might actually train both of you to focus a little bit more.
Any training? What?
Train both of you. Digby will train you. Nothing scary about that at all.
Well, I have a question. I
Feed the
was,
dog.
pardon?
Oh, what Digby would train you? Feed the dog.
Starving.
Yeah. Well, they all know how to train their parents on that one. Um, if I wanted to do this and not be highly competitive, because as I understand it, it's like it's super competitive. I mean, they do it at Westminster or something like that, and and people are. It's like the moms with their cheerleading daughters and their soccer kids and all that stuff, and they all stare each other down in the parking lot. I just want to do it for fun. I was highly competitive in high school. In trophies and sports and competitions and everything, and I don't want to do that anymore. I mean, can I just are there just fun groups to do agility with other people for fun?
Yes, there. I mean, those things exist. They it's addictive. When things are working right and you tell the dog to go left, do a jump, and he goes left and does a jump, you're all excited. And then, well, how well did we do? And, well, what was my time? And then it's like, well, what do I need to do to get faster? And then it's like, well, what was someone else's time? So how do I get faster than that dog? And then it kind of snowballs. But the measure is, do you perform each of the obstacles cleanly in order, and how long does that take? And so once you do that, and it's a very simple but not very easy thing. Once you're regularly doing all the obstacles correctly in order, then it's how fast can you do that? And that's sort of the measure of how well you're doing, is how fast can your dog correctly do things.
New
And
variables, upping the ante.
yeah, and it feels so good when that you and your dog are communicating and on the same page, and you're running as fast as you can and they're running as fast as they can, so you're both tired, and that you know to really get it, you need to have not just learned the course, but learned what you're going to say at different points of the course. You know, is Have you taught your dog that if you point at an obstacle, it's the correct one? Does it matter which hand you point with? Which way you're facing? Um, the part of the adventure is that you don't know what the dog is cueing on. That's
Hmm.
a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Does the dog take the jump because it's in front of them? Do they take because you're pointing at it? Do they take it because you yell jump or over or whatever your command might be? Or you might have a bunch of different commands. Do you have a command for a back command, which means run around the jump and take it towards me? Um, so there's all kinds of levels to it.
Your
Um,
dog trains you to train them the proper way.
Yes, and that's
Yeah.
part of where the trainer is so critical, is that they can watch you while you're watching your dog. So to know if um, your timing is appropriate. Many people are good at yelling the name of the obstacle after their dog does it.
Good
Um,
job.
yeah, I mean it's natural, but it's not super helpful to the dog.
Huh.
So you need someone to say, you need to say something faster. Be fair to your dog. you know
Eric's
uh,
gonna get me an FCC nastygram.
Yeah.
Well,
well,
while we don't condone speaking to each other that way, I do like your humor. But what I'm hearing about this is that you definitely recommend a trainer, an experienced trainer to help you if you want to get started. Which kind of brings me to that question of, let's say our listener or viewer is like, I want to do agility with my corgi, I want to do agility with my dog. How would they get started? Okay, look for a trainer. We know that. You definitely recommend working with a professional or somebody that has that background. But moreover, are there materials that you need? Because we've learned when it comes to things like dog sports and disc dog and things like that, you need certain materials, you need certain things to get started. What would you recommend, Eric, as sort of like a starter kit? Okay, get a trainer. We know that. What else?
treats, lots and lots of treats. and perhaps a some sort of treat bag to hold them in. Um, uh, Hot dogs are great treats, but they're kind of hard on your pocket. Um,
It's like
so
Napoleon Dynamite and the tater tots in the in the
Yeah.
pocket.
yeah, at one point in my past, someone in my household left treats. Okay, it happened many times. Treats left in the pocket are very, very attractive to a dog. So if you want to return to your favorite activewear and to discover that all the pockets have been eaten, it's a very sad thing. These are my favorite shorts or pants or whatever, and the pockets are gone.
Well, that's good advice. Don't leave
That,
hot dogs in your pocket if you have a dog and you really like those pants.
yeah, that's
Exactly.
a good general. I think that's a good general thing. You talk about running around. Just a quick question. You talk about running around with your dog and running around the track, the course. Is it like, slice of cheesecake running around, or is it, chocolate chip mini running around? And how many chocolate chip minis can I
Well,
burn on the average course?
most courses are fewer than 200 yards, 600 feet. So it's not a long way. And
Thank you for doing that conversion for our American audience, by the way.
yeah, fewer than 200 meters also. So, it's not a long run. And depending on your dog, it may not be a very fast run. The top dogs travel more than 5 yards a second. So, their times are 20 seconds. So it doesn't take a long time to run that far. But
It's only
the
one chocolate chip mini. I need a new sport.
Not at first. You're going to be training all day. I mean, if you're going to just like anything that you learn from what
Yeah.
I'm hearing from Eric, and just like anything that you learn that you're going to dedicate more time to it in the beginning as you get comfortable with it, as you learn to do it and as your dog learns to do it. So, I mean, at first, sure, go ahead, break your diet and cheat while you're while you're training, but maybe as you get more versed in it, then got back off a little bit. That's what I'm hearing.
well,
But I do
and it
go ahead.
starts with at the basic level. It is not uncommon to find people in their 50s and 60s that are overweight, um, doing the sport with their dog and trying to arrange it so the dog does most of the running. Um, but as you get more competitive and have bigger and taller goals, many you find that you know there are canine athletes and human athletes. So the human loses weight, gets in shape, uh, does all kinds of stretches and exercises to get better. How quickly can you turn your body 180 degrees while running full speed and not land on your ass? There are some skills involved,
Hmm.
um, and it gets more technical. It goes from the person in their cargo shorts and t-shirt to someone in dressed for a marathon with their tights and lycra and special shoes and all kinds of things. Depending on where you live, agility is usually outdoors on grass. So you might want like lacrosse shoes or softball cleats or what's comfortable for you to run. Many competitors change shoes as part of their pre-run routine, so that they one less thing to worry about while you're trying to run about. Um, you know,
The right tools and apparel to begin. That's yeah, definitely sage advice. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm sure that's something that not everybody would think about. But
and
I
you don't
wanted to
you don't
go
need to
ahead.
start with that. It's as y- every time you play with your dog, you're learning, the dog's learning, and you're learning. So if you slip, you say, perhaps heels are not the right answer for this.
Well, I mean, I would applaud anybody who decided to start agility training with their dog in heels. That's some dedication there. I don't want to break my aesthetic. out doing that. But I mean, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but still, it's good to know to anticipate that if you're going to start this journey and how far you're going to take it. And I wanted to ask, do you think, and we're talking about cattle dogs and these working breeds, and we know corgis are herders, so they're working breeds. And but do you think, in your opinion, from doing this many years, that certain breeds are better suited for agility than others? And if so, would you think three or four would be better that you would say that you wouldn't recommend and that you would?
Um, Part of trying agility is, the sport for all dogs, and so every dog is measured and determined how tall they are at the withers, at their shoulder. So, and then they are broken into categories based on how tall they are. So the very tall dogs do not directly compete against the very small dogs. So different breeds in different height categories is how it tends to work out. Um, the border collies are famous for being super competitive. Um, and border collies come in a few different sizes. So the smaller ones would be more mid-sized, and the taller ones for the larger groups. Shelties can be very effective. Corgis can be very good. Jack Russells can be very good. Again, depending on which height. And part of the drama of getting a new agility dog is, how tall will they grow, and what category are they going to be? Because you know, it's heartbreaking to be just over the line and into the taller dog category.
Yeah.
Um,
So you've heard, we've all heard that old quote, that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And we, most of us who have had dogs, know that that's not necessarily true. That dogs learn their whole lives. But in your estimation, would you say there's an age that's better to do it? Is it better to start your puppy as you once they're ready to be out in public and had some socialization training, or do you think it's okay if they're 2 to 3 years old? Does it depend on the breed? What do you think about age?
Can you teach a healthy old dog a new trick?
Definitely, definitely. I adopted a 6-year-old cattle dog to give her happy golden years. I was a novice person and didn't realize how overweight she was. When she lost the weight, she loved agility. She thought it was the best thing. Um, you know, it made her the center of attention, and there were treats, and there were treats, and she was the center of attention. She thought it was the best thing.
That's awesome. I love that. I love the idea that you can have an older dog and this is not out of the question for them, because I think initially my assessment would be, oh, you need to start training them when they're puppies or at least when they're young. But I love that you've had I mean, that's six for a cattle dog, six, that's middle age, correct?
It turns out,
Yeah.
she was 8 by the time she was competing regularly, and she didn't retire until she was 10 or 12.
She was a
Um,
full on senior then. Yeah.
oh, yes. And
Oh, that's wonderful.
at bigger shows, there are age categories. So you could compete in what they call the veterans category for the older dogs. Um,
Oh, that's amazing.
One thing that gets confusing for new people is that through the years, humans being political animals, there have been different schisms and different, somebody has a great idea for a new rule and the organizing body ignores it. And it's not very difficult to go start a new organizing body. So there are at least half a dozen different organizers of, they publish the rules and, sanction events, and they're all a little bit different, and they have, different energies and philosophies. And so the new person should, go to, leave your dog at home and go to a show and talk to people. um, Many people will be very nice. Explain that you're interested in starting and just trying to see what's what, and you will hear as at least as many opinions as the people you talk to, and it can be very confusing. Um, I'd say ask who the trainers are in the area and talk to them. when they have a little downtime, and see who you get along with. And that's going to be a key to your enjoyment, is to enjoy time with your trainer.
Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, just anytime you start any kind of activity, that's always important to see if you find your tribe, as they say. You want to make sure that the synergy and that the overall vibe is resonating with your own, so that you feel like you will get along well and that you all fit in and that you feel welcomed.
Yeah, and don't give up. Talk. If you find that you do not get along with the first person you're talking to, there will be more. Keep talking to more and different people, and the trial can sometimes be a very stressful environment. So the best trainer might be worried about qualifying for nationals or something like that, and their head may not be in the meet a new person space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's it,
get their game face on. Sure. That'll make a
exactly.
difference. Yeah. Well, I've certainly learned a lot today, Eric.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
Uh,
for being on the show with us.
yeah, definitely. And listener, viewer, if you want to get started in agility, please contact us. Our website, www.corgitownusa.com. Fill out the intake form. Let us know in the comments that you're looking for advice on agility, or where do I get started, or can you refer me? And we'll put you in touch with Eric.
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, Eric, thank you so much. We appreciate your time, and we hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Kat, are you going to get started with Digby? Is that the afternoon activities?
I don't know. Digby has been loving the frisbee, the disc
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff, and since the beginning, I had some tennis balls, and he loves the tennis balls. We have an absolutely huge backyard. I'm on an acre of land, and so I don't throw the whole acre because I'm not that good. But he loves that, and now you've got to see this. Next time you come over, as you know, I've got a little sort of table when you go out our back door. And listener, viewer, if you can imagine this, there's sort of this table out the back door, and on the table is his ball and is his frisbee. He runs up to the table, stands up on the table, grabs his frisbee now, and comes and brings it to me because he wants to
Oh,
play frisbee. It's
that's
so
so cute.
adorable.
That's
And you
so
don't
cute.
see the frisbee. Now you've got to understand this is a good desk size, maybe a little bit higher than a desk size. So little Corgi does not see the frisbee sitting there, but he knows that that's where mommy puts the frisbee back every day,
Yeah.
and he goes up there and he grabs it and he comes and brings it to me. And it is one of the flexible. It is not a hard plastic. We had someone who did the disc competition, and
Yeah.
he
Bob
assisted
Ryan. Bob
Bob,
Ryan, the disc dog. Yeah, he was advising us on which discs were safe and advised. Yeah.
and we got a safe disc, and he absolutely loves it. He just goes crazy. So while I like agility, and it certainly is going to be fun to teach Digby more and more commands, frisbee disc is the way to go with him, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's good for him. It gives him the focus and it gives him the exercise that he needs. And for
Mhm.
those listening, watching, Kat, you say, well, we live on an acre, but we don't use a whole acre. Well, to keep in mind, Kat lives on a mountain, so it's also not a flat acre. There are places you can fall and places you can
Yeah,
get stuck and places you can slide down. So that's part of it too. The whole acre
true.
is not just flat usable land. It's a little bit of topography there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, Kat, I think we should sign off tonight. And again, anybody
Absolutely.
listening or watching, please reach out to us, corgitownusa.com. We will be sure and advise you and put you in touch with the proper people if you want to start agility with your corgi.
Until next time. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks. Good night.